What's up, YouTube? It's been just about, I believe, a decade since the last video I've made. But now I've made my grand return, and I'm going to be cleaning my Smith & Wesson S&W Shield Plus today. So first I'm going to go ahead, make sure the gun's safe, drop the mag out, lock the slide back, make sure there's no round in the chamber or anything in the mag well. And field strip the gun. And this is just the way that I do it. You guys might do it a little bit differently, or see other ways other people clean their firearms, but I clean mine the way that I clean them. So today I'm going to be using break-free CLP for the solvent. This is like an all-in-one, but I mainly use it as a solvent, and I always use some kind of gun oil, whether it be Melitech, Lucas, whatever, separate oil. And I also use gun grease, so today I'm going to be using Remington's gun grease as well with the oil. So the gun's safe, it's field stripped, the recoil rod, spring, the barrel, frame, slide and frame. I clean my firearms every time I shoot them. Today I only put 50 rounds through my Shield Plus, and I'm going to clean it. I know a lot of people don't like to clean their firearms after shooting it, but I clean it every time I fire them, so that's just my way of doing it. You guys can go longer without cleaning it. You don't have to clean them every time you shoot them, but I do, and it's just the way I've always done it, and probably the way I will always do it. So I'm just going to show you guys how I do it. So use the solvent, spray some on the slide, spray some in the frame, shoot some in the barrel, and a little bit the recoil rod spring assembly. I use two different types of Q-tips. I use regular ones and the pointy makeup ones. I like these because they're good for getting inside small places like inside the rails. Again, this is just the way that I do it. You guys might have your own method, or maybe you'll learn something. So I just clean inside, you know, inside the rails, back in the sear assembly, inside the mag well. Now when you spray this shit on there, the longer it sets, you know, the easier the fouling and burnt gunpowder and all that shit's gonna come off. You might have to do a couple of different takes on it, but again, this is just the way that I do it. And I know there's going to be a lot of people saying, well, you're not doing this right, you're not doing that right. I really don't give a shit. This is the way I do mine. And anyone that's seen me on YouTube before that remembers me knows that I do things my way. If there's a better way, I will absolutely adapt. but this has always been the way I've cleaned my guns. You just clean it inside the mag well. Just wiping all the burnt gunpowder and all that burnt shit off. Going with the Q-tip. Just clean all those little hard to reach areas. This won't be that dirty today because I only fired 50 rounds through it. It'll still get dirty, but not nearly as dirty as, firing, a few hundred rounds or going a couple of different range sessions without cleaning it, but I clean mine every time I shoot it. So you just want to, I'm not going nuts today cleaning it. It's just a quick cleaning. This is my carry piece, Smith & Wesson S&W Shield Plus. It's great micro compact firearm to carry. Carrying this concealed, I haven't had any problems with it. And anyone that knows me knows I'm a Glock guy. So this replaced the Glock 26 that I carried for years. Living in Massachusetts, it sucks. Anyone that lives in this state or knows anything about it knows how hard it is to own, carry a firearm, because how strict the state is with the laws. So I didn't want to spend $1,100 on a 30-year-old Glock. I've heard a lot of great things about the Shield Plus, and the Shield for that matter. I've always been an MP guy as well as a Glock guy. But this firearm I haven't had any problems with, other than having to alter my grip. Normally when, the slide's off obviously, but when I fire I always go thumbs forward. With this I have to alter my grip and move my right thumb, right hand dominant, to the fat part of my hand, just because it was hitting the slide stop on the last round fired and the slide wasn't locking back on the last round fired. So it's just the way this particular firearm was designed. And it's a minor change you have to make. Normally all my guns, the way I hold them, thumbs forward. This one I just have to move my right thumb over to the fat part of my hand so it doesn't hit the slide stop. And today after firing it, I fired 50 rounds through it, I didn't have one failure for the slide to lock back. I don't remember whose video I saw. I thought it was the ammunition or maybe a defect in the gun. It was an operator error, excuse me, not operation, Jesus. It was an operator error. It was my fault. The slide wasn't locking back because thumbs forward, last round fired, my thumb would hit the slide stop and that would keep the slide forward on the last round fired. So just that little change, just moving my thumb over, I didn't have any problems today. So lower receiver frame is all set, cleaned. Gonna oil that afterwards. Gonna clean the slide now. So just gonna scrub inside the rails. The solvent had time to set. Clean it. When I do the breech face, and I think most people when they clean it, where the firing pin comes out of, you always want to keep that pointed down just so you don't push any debris or burnt gunpowder, any kind of shit inside there, give you problems. So you just clean it facing down. You don't want to pack any of that shit inside. Okay? That's that. Just use my nylon brush. Scrub, scrub, scrub. Wipe everything down. Again, going in with the Q-tips. These things are great. Little hard to reach areas. Then for the barrel, just going to let this set. Did my little scrub thing, give it a quick wipe down. I'm going to still go inside, clean the rails, a couple other spots. But the barrel's been soaking now. So, I'm going to take my brush. Give that a little spray. Inside. I usually go in like 10-15 times. Unless it's heavily fouled, there's no reason to do more. But that's just my take on this. And again, feel free to do more or less, whatever you feel. Now it's just too wet, so I'm just going to give it a wipe. And that'll clean all the shit on the outside too. Right inside the feed ramp, make sure you clean that. That's where the bullet goes up the ramp into the chamber. So make sure you give that a good cleaning. You don't want any rounds getting hung up. No failures to feed, whatnot. Then just clean all the little spots you can't get with a rag. Right inside the barrel lug. So, barrel's done, lower receiver's done, slide assembly is basically done. I'm just gonna go inside the slide rails with my pointy Q-tips. See if I can clean out any more dirt and debris. Now you don't want this wet after you clean it with your solvents. I'm going to go over it with a little bit of oil afterwards. You know, metal on metal contact points. But you don't want it wet. Less is more with lubricating firearms. And again, this is just my input on this. And this is just the way I happen to clean my firearms. Okay. I'm sure there's quite a few people on YouTube have a lot of questions for me. Maybe I'll answer them, maybe I won't. Only time will tell. Okay, so the slide done, the frame done, the barrel done, magazines, just going to use. With magazines, I don't like getting them extra wet. I just like just enough solvent to get all the burnt, residue. If you can see that. Just very light. I don't want to have it get too wet. That way it attracts, dust and shit in your pockets when carrying, burnt powder from firing it. Just comes off real easy. I don't lubricate my magazines. There's no reason to. I just want to clean it, keep it from getting fouled, and I don't want any issues with my magazines for feeding with the firearm. I love this Shield Plus. Living in Massachusetts, where anyone that knows anything about Massachusetts knows it's one of the worst states in the United States to own a gun. But I'm very lucky and fortunate that this was on the approved list for, Attorney General and Massachusetts approved list. I've always been a big M&P guy since they first came out with the first generation. I have the M&P full-size 9mm as well. It's such a phenomenal gun. Going to be upgrading the trigger on that this week when I receive it in the mail. So, magazine's clean, follower is clean. Put that off to the side. Recoil rod and spring assembly. Just going to give it a quick brush. A lot of people overdo it cleaning this with, oils and solvents. I don't spray it, I just use the residual solvent that's on the brush just to give it a quick, just a little scrub. That's all. You don't need to go crazy with this. Again, you don't want it too wet because you don't want it to attract any dust or debris, or when you're firing it, it'll be super quick to, like a magnet, to pick up all the burnt gunpowder, or unburnt powder too. Whatever will stick to it will. So I just give it a quick, just a little scrub. That's all you need. And I'll show you my trick afterwards for cleaning the rod. So now everything has been cleaned with solvent. Now I'm going to be oiling and greasing. I use gun oil and I use gun grease. The gun grease I only use in maybe 2 spots. The oil I'm a little more liberal with the spots, so I put a drop inside each side of the slide rails on the slide. Just need 1 drop each side on the top, and then I do a tiny drop on the bottom. And then inside where the barrel lug rests, and moves along the bottom part of the slide. Just give it a little drop there. And I'll go in with the finger, just wipe it in. Just to coat it, you just want a very, very light coating. And also, right where the firing pin safety is, I'll give that one little drop there. And then I'll go in with the Q-tip. I like the pointy ones with this because it helps distribute the oil evenly, because the points are sharp, it'll fit right inside the slide rails. So just a quick little, just a little coating. That's all you need. Right inside the barrel. Then on the frame, I'll just go over this real quick again with the Q-tip just to see if there's any spots I missed. And again, I'm not going crazy cleaning this one. It hasn't been fired too much, so it's not dirty, like dirty. It's dirty in my opinion, but a lot of you people might say, well, hey, your gun's pretty clean. Just going with the patch right in the mag well. See, it's pretty clean. Only fired 50 rounds through it today. So now I'm going to put a couple of drops of oil on the rails. They ride into the slide. And then one right back right near the sear assembly. One drop. With oil, less is more. And then I just give it a little rub with my finger. Just get it in there. I don't like to waste it. But you don't want too much either. So now with the barrel, I hit it with the brush, the solvent. Now I'm going to run a patch through it. It's kind of like, toilet paper for your ass. Just keep going back and forth until it comes out clean. Just like if you were wiping your ass with toilet paper. See all the burnt carbon, gunpowder and shit that came off. And when it gets dirty, get a clean patch. Same thing, hook it through the loop. Again, this is what I do, and I know a lot of people might disagree, but again, this is what I do. Always go from the feed ramp, the barrel lug. Follow the bullet path. Don't go backwards. Don't do it that way. Go forward. Especially with the brush. You don't want to fuck up the rifling inside the barrel. Barrel's pretty expensive. Okay, so now the barrel's clean. Now it just has to be oiled. So now the barrel is pretty clean. Now I'm going to run a patch with just a tiny, tiny bit of oil through the barrel. And this is a part of firearms maintenance where a lot of people think if I put more oil on my firearm, it'll inhibit rust, growth, whatnot. Less is more with oil. Okay, so that's it. That's all you need. Then I'm going to take the patch with oil because I don't like to waste anything. Just give it a really light wipe down just to protect the metal from rusting. Again, I can't reiterate this enough. Less is more with oil. Same thing inside the frame. Slide, Jesus. And the frame, the real frame. Alright, so that's all done. The magazines, I'd never oil, solvents only, or like a 3-in-1, 2-in-1. But I'll never oil just the magazines. I wipe things down with a silicone rag afterwards, after fingerprints and shit gets all over the gun after you clean it. Before I put it in the safe, I will wipe it down with a silicone rag. So now it's been cleaned with solvent, it's been oiled, and the last thing that I do is just give a little bit of gun grease. And there's only a couple of spots I do this. Inside the barrel lug, right inside there, just a little dot. Tiny, tiny dot there. And I'll steal a little bit from that dot just to wipe it around. And you'll see a wear ring right around the tip of your barrel, maybe a 1/4 of an inch down. Just go a little bit right around there, and I use my finger. And then just a tiny bit on top. Whatever's on my finger with the residual grease, I'll just inside there. I don't like to waste things. And then 1 dot right inside there where the barrel hits. Just need a little dot. That's all, not much. Okay. Now, reassembly. Just put some of this away so I don't lose anything. So thank you for bearing with me. This is the first video I've made in, I think, a decade. So it's exciting getting back into this. I love making YouTube videos and interacting with the gun community. They were a great bunch of guys. There's always the trolls and shit that, like to fuck with people and do their own thing. And that's cool. I used to be a troll. But I really like helping people more than trolling, so that's where I'm at with this. Alright, so got the gun grease in, got the oil in, it's cleaned with solvent. Now we're ready for reassembly. So you take your barrel, drop it into the slide, recoil rod, spring assembly, right onto the frame, slide in this, and the spring is really, really stiff. It's just the way this gun was produced. I don't have a problem with it. See, then I just rack the slide, move all that oil around so it stays nice inside the rails and the grease gets distributed. So when I clean the recoil rod, I'll lock the slide back. Go in with a Q-tip and then just go right over the rod just to get whatever, you know, dirt, burnt gunpowder, whatever off. You don't need to oil it. There's already enough residual oil from, you know, cleaning it and scrubbing it. It'll get on there and prevent it from rusting. Wipe it down. And all the solvent, grease, and oil off the gun. I love this gun too, because I love it's not a true flat face trigger, but it's not a curved trigger either. It's kind of in between. And I really like this, I dig it. It's kind of Glock-like, you know, the way it reminds me of the Glock trigger. So, all I need to do now is wipe it down with the silicone rag, and I'll do that before I put it in the safe. I mean, you guys don't really need to see me wipe it down with a rag now. You see me clean it, and this is just the way I do it. Just a super video, easy gun cleaning maintenance from Gorgor 1981. Have a nice day and go fuck yourselves.